All right, we're getting everybody in. Happy Friday, everybody. Merry Christmas for those of you that celebrate. Excited to see everybody joining us today. As y'all know, we do a little bit of fun trivia each Friday as we open up because it's just fun and it's a great way for us to kind of fill the space as folks are getting in. So today's trivia, like we've done the past couple of weeks, because it is kind of Christmas season, we're going to focus in on Christmas movie quotes. So Matt and Kristen, I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to say a quote from a movie and have you guys guess what movie that comes from. Are you ready? And you can get some help from folks
We
in
can
the
get
chat.
help from the audience.
Yeah, help from the audience. No official phone of friends, but you
Is
can
it a raise your hand or just blurt it out?
just blurt it out. We'll go with that. All right. Okay, so the first one is no one should be alone on Christmas.
Oh, that sounds familiar. What? Oh,
What do you guys?
Elf?
Elf? You think it's Elf, Matt?
That, I don't think it is.
That's a good question. Good one.
I have no clue.
We've got some
Home Alone too.
The audience. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we have a couple of guesses around Home Alone. Nobody has gotten it so far.
Okay.
Think of a cute little girl saying this.
Oh, Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yes. Okay.
I remember it now. Yep.
Okay, next one. You can mess with a lot of things, but you can't mess with kids on Christmas.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus?
No, it's not that one.
We got a Die Hard. Brad. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Home Alone.
So Matt, you think
no?
A Christmas Story, Kristen?
We've got
you guess.
Cues.
Kristen, we got some TV to watch.
I know. Well, I feel like I can hear these, but they're just all,
Don't mess with kids on Christmas.
Yeah.
No clue.
It is totally Home Alone 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so
those
good.
of you in the chat that put it in there, it's absolutely Home Alone 2. Okay. This one, Christmas. Okay. This is always a big part of our chat. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I know everybody thinks that it is. We can totally have this debate on it. I feel like this should be a social hot take.
Can we vote? Because I'm voting for it.
No debate. We have a lot of people that are
it's a big thing. Okay, next quote. I'm not going to do that one. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yes.
Ooh, nice.
That was good. Got it.
Wow. You had that right.
All right, we got time for one more. Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas.
No clue.
Christmas Vacation.
Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah, we got it.
Boom.
Yep.
Nice.
Christmas Vacation.
So I got 2 right, which means Kristen gets to answer all the other questions.
Fantastic. Now we've got that set up. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off for today. Just in case we have not met, my name is Melissa Langdale, and I'm the president and COO of the Mortgage Collaborative. And as always, I'm super excited to have everybody joining us today. Today, I am joined by 2 very special guests, Matt Clark, who is the president and COO of Churchill Mortgage, and then Kristen Messerly, who is the founder of First Home IQ. Welcome, Matt and Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it might be helpful for everybody before we get started to learn a little bit about your companies. Matt, do you want to start? Tell us a little bit about Churchill Mortgage.
Churchill Mortgage, we've been in business 30 years. We've been advertising with Dave Ramsey for we've been in business 32 years. We've been advertising with Dave for about 30 years. A big chunk of our business and our growth has come from the work that we do with him and his tribe, about 20% of our business. The rest is your traditional distributed retail all across the country. We live and run our business the way that we teach. Try to stay away from debt, although we're selling mortgages. We help people get to what we call the real American dream of debt-free home ownership. And we have an educational approach to everything we do and trying to help people win with money, which is what, quite frankly, attracted us so much with first home IQ, because, educating people, especially young people, on what it takes to get into a home and start building wealth is critically important. So that's us.
Yeah. All right,
Uh,
Kristen, tell us a little bit about First Home IQ.
Yeah, so our mission is around bringing financial literacy and homebuyer education to the next generation. So we think about the money milestones people are hitting as they're entering adulthood. They're 16, they're getting their first job. They should know how to budget, save, and invest. And at 18, they're getting credit card offers and student loan debt offers. They should know what their credit score means and how debt management works. And then we believe by the age of 21, you should know strategies to achieve homeownership. And certainly by the average age of the first time home buyer, which is 38, you should know what that process looks like. And yet the vast majority of people are still very uneducated around buying their first home. So, we have created online courses and free materials for consumers and teachers to be able to teach that information in schools. And then we have partnered with loan officers, agents, and lenders to help them in reaching first-time home buyers and also volunteer in their communities and just be set up as education leaders. So we have an ambassador program where they get marketing resources, presentation materials, things like that to be able to educate. And
I
Churchill
love
is my
it. I did
lender
not
partner.
realize that the average,
That seems older than you would expect, right?
the average age of a first time home buyer is 38.
Yes, just this year,
Wow.
yeah.
I
And
don't
it
know.
rose from like 33
I
just a couple years ago. It's crazy.
that's crazy. It's interesting, and I'm almost curious if some of the things we're going to talk about is about around affordability today, and I'm almost curious if that average age has gone up because of some of the challenges around finding homes and around affordability is really driving that. But I know you do a lot of research on that next generation of home buyer and what's really kind of holding them back to. From your latest study, could you share maybe your top 2 or 3 takeaways for everybody?
Yeah, so in our 2024 Next Gen Homebuyer Report, which we're about to do 2025, but we found that people were, the majority of millennials and Gen Z said that they didn't feel homeownership was accessible to the next generation. They also, 2 and 3 said they didn't think lenders were trustworthy or reliable. So there's a huge level of distrust at every aspect of institutions in general. And then the last one was that I would say are like very high level is just this lack of confidence in their own education. I can't remember the stat, but I think it's like 51% said that they didn't feel confident in their own knowledge. And we have also a quiz, a first home IQ quiz that measures your understanding of buying your first home. And the average score of people taking that is 57%. So there's this lack of confidence and also true lack of knowledge, but then they also don't feel comfortable talking to experts and they don't feel confident in the accessibility of homeownership. So there is, I think, a lot of real barriers to buying, but education is a huge part of that in trust building.
Christian, you'll be glad to know
I
I passed that test. So
Oh, good. I'm so
I did
wouldn't have,
too.
I wouldn't have passed it in my early 20s. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, yeah.
So for those of you that have not taken the quiz, Kristen, if you want to put it in the chat for everybody, I would highly encourage you to take it because I took it and I still had moments where I was like, wait, I think I think I know the answer, and I was overthinking some of it, but it's really, really fantastic and gives a good kind of comprehensive overview of what it takes to really go through the process. So I'm excited about that. So obviously, trust is a big factor, but if folks were confident in their own knowledge, like that would probably eliminate a little bit of that trust barrier where they'd be able to kind of walk through that process a little bit easier because they had that foundation. I want to talk a little bit. Obviously, the Fed cut interest rates this week, and that's been a big part of the news. And as that happened, it made me start thinking this is often a point of contention with consumers because they don't understand, right? It gets a lot of press attention. There's, a lot of misunderstanding around, well, the Fed cut rates, so now homes are more affordable, right? And so is First Home IQ doing anything with that? And then Matt, I'd love to hear on your side, like, how do you help your LOs prepare for those conversations too? Let's start with Kristen and then we'll go over to Matt.
Yeah, I think this will lead into what Matt has to say because a lot of, around those topics in particular, it's really, we want to encourage our ambassadors who are primarily loan officers to be leading with education, helping people understand what those, what that means. It is a lot in the news and media, and it can feel very scary. And also, people don't understand what's going on, but if they follow you or they see your videos and they can see like, oh, you're making this accessible to me, this information accessible to me, then I'm going to trust you to reach out to you with more questions and more discussion. So I think it's really, really important that as an industry, we're leading with that kind of education.
Yeah. Christian, I think back to when I bought my first house. I was 25. I had a child and another one on the way. I knew nothing about money whatsoever, other than if I had checks, for those of you who are old enough to remember writing checks. And if I had an open balance on my credit card, I thought I had money. And so when I went to buy my first home, I had no clue about anything. And I had to trust the person that my real estate agent put me in touch with to kind of walk me through and borrow money from my grandmother for a down payment because I had no education. I was desperate, needed a house, and didn't know where to turn. I think about today's world where there's so much information. It's almost overload, how accessible opinions are. And some of those opinions are actually fact-based. And I think that's the critical part right now, especially with all of the noise that comes through on this interest rate cut. Right? People are looking, I bet things are great, right? We just cut 25 basis points. Other than the fact that what the Fed chair had to say afterwards. So much of what happens with mortgage rates is around sentiment of the market. Not what's tied to what the Fed does. Now, what the Fed does absolutely impacts it. But I think one of the things that we are obligated to do is educate our teams. You said most people don't understand the impact of what the Fed's decisions are. I think most mortgage professionals don't truly understand the impact. And I think it's really important for us to be experts, educate our people, let our people educate the families and referral partners that trust them, and get that information out there. Otherwise, we're all dealing on emotion and we're all dealing on opinions. And we can make decisions we regret when we do that, like, waiting, or it's not accessible, or interest rates are too high. The facts are interest rates aren't too high. If you have the right plan as a first-time home buyer to enter the market, you might have to make tough decisions. You might not be buying a house, Melissa, in Boston where you are right now. You might have to drive out an hour to the suburbs or farther to buy a home that you can afford, but having a good financial plan to fit that into, the interest rate, while it's important, it's not the most important factor. And so helping people understand that is really important.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kristen.
I was just going to say, I think helping people make a plan, even if it's not right now, but helping people understand, what does this look like for me in 6 months or even 5 years? They're going to refer people to you right now if they trust you and you're helping them make a plan. So, I think there's that component. And then also, like you said, Matt, there's other strategies they can think about, including moving somewhere else, or, we were talking in the chat about like co-buying strategies. And I think it's important to be looking a little bit outside of the norm.
Well, especially with what you do and educating before it's needed, right? And getting them prepared in a place where they're able to be prepared before the season they're in, where they have the strong desire to execute on a home. I think about my kids when they bought their home, they knew 5 years in advance what it was going to take in order for them to buy a home, qualify a home, get a mortgage, and do it without any help. Now, whether they listened or not is a whole nother story, but at least they had the education. So when it came time, they weren't freaking out. They were knowledgeable about the decision and could make a better one.
So I also think that there's more to that. Like I had all the education, and yet whenever it came time, like a couple years ago when I bought my home in Los Angeles, I just thought I could not buy. Like it just
Mhm.
was in my head. It was this feeling that like you're not going to ever be able to buy there. And I had plenty of money for a down payment, like a solid down payment. And I'll also, I had what I needed. I just didn't feel like it was there. So there's all these messages out there telling you that it's not accessible. And while there's a lot of the market that truly can't buy, they're priced out, all of the inventories, all of that is an issue. But there are people like myself who are ready to buy, but they don't know it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. People are nervous when they don't fully understand, and so helping people understand what's possible.
Yeah.
So I think a component of this that's really interesting is especially right now with ChatGPT and the
Mm.
spirit of AI and how much where people are getting information and how they're getting it is different, right? And so if I think about like that next generation of home buyers and what they're really looking like, where are they going for information? It's not necessarily where they've been in the past. So how are there things that you're looking at, either of you, are there things that you guys are looking at to kind of get ahead of that, or maybe even I don't know, be leverage that to be a better resource for the next generation?
Well, Kristen, let me offer a quick opinion and throw it off to you because you're the expert in this. Your whole business is based on education. My encouragement to everybody, first-time home buyers, people that are looking to become a first-time home buyer 5 years from now, or people that are moving up or retiring. There's so much data out there. And I consider myself a reasonably intelligent person. And I'm in the business. And when I hear and read information, I always run that information by other qualified experts. And I think that's
Yeah,
a critical thing. I mean, in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. I think no matter who you are, you don't want to react to information and make decisions you regret because you didn't take the time to seek qualified expert counsel. And I think as an independent mortgage banker, that's our niche. That's why people want to work with us, because we're going to take the time to give you great advice and solve problems, because nobody wants a mortgage. What they want is a
that's
solution
right.
to a problem. Their problem
Yeah,
is they either don't have or don't want to spend cash for a house, and they
yeah,
want to buy one. And so we need to take time with them, regardless of where they are in that continuum, and give them the information that's going to help them make them they can find online or through ChatGPT or some other mechanism. So, Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that while ChatGPT and AI are not always truthful, they are very truthful a lot of the time and can be a really useful tool for people who are anxious about, not feeling confident in their own knowledge so I think definitely not pushing it away and saying don't go there. Like consumers should be empowered with information. We're looking at ways that we can incorporate more of like a chat kind of engagement through in our online courses, because that could be really helpful for people to have that kind of conversation. And then I think for loan officers to be able to find ways to partner with ChatGPT, use it as a resource to find better ways to educate. I mean, even saying like, hey, can you create a video script about this topic and see what that comes up with, and go back and forth a bit, say, okay, I like this, I don't like that, and even those really simple ways can save you a lot of time and help you be, continue to improve the way that you educate. So that's just, small examples, but I think can be what I'm excited about is that we're moving away from consumers just following a couple people on TikTok and saying, "Oh, I believe what you guys are saying." Like, again, great that they're getting information, but those are a couple experts' opinions, or sometimes not experts at all. And so then now they're going to be, leveraging a wider source of information and having better conversations, I think, with experts after that.
Yeah, I kind of think it's a knowledge enhancer, not wisdom by itself.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Completely agree. Matt, you started to talk earlier about like affordability. Challenges with affordability are not just about the interest rate, right? Our industry has seen a lot of challenges around homeowners insurance, around taxes going up across the country as well. And so, like, combining all of those things in to that overarching challenge of affordability, I think is important. I'm curious, are there things that you maybe that the two of you are partnering on together that are helping to better prepare people for big shifts in homeowners insurance or shifts in taxes? I mean, if I can remember back to my days as a loan officer, I would get, calls every single year from folks as their escrow analysis was done. And they were really, kind of trying to navigate, like, why did my payment adjust? Right. I thought I got a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, and they didn't understand all of that whole insurance, taxes. And I know a lot of, Kristen, what you're trying to do is help prepare them for that. So in these big swings, like, have you had to rethink like how that messaging is so that you can, help better prepare people?
Yeah, so we have, for many years, we've talked about homeownership as being this fixed cost, and that's like the benefit over renting. And I think it's really clear that homeownership costs do change, and consumers need to be prepared for that. I even, going into when I bought the condo that I have, the HOA fees increased significantly after that, and of course, insurance and taxes have gone up. And those are things that that consumers need to be prepared for. And if you lead with, or if you provide that kind of education, you become more trustworthy, and then consumers have more confidence in moving forward with their conversations with you. So I don't think it pushes people away. It, in fact, like, brings people in by leading with that education. So yeah, at First Home IQ, we're looking at posts and content that we can provide ambassadors to be able to help educate people, especially on the insurance front. I think that's in a lot of people's conversations right now.
That's so important. I think about my own situation where my taxes went up 50% and my home insurance doubled last year. And my HOA went up, and they didn't really do anything. So that irritated me. But I think especially when working with people who don't have the experience of carrying a mortgage and all of the expenses associated with carrying a home, it's so important that you tell them up front, these numbers are going to go up. So let's not put you in a mortgage you regret just because you can get over the finish line or over the starting line right now. Our job is to walk with you to enjoy owning that home and make sure you have a little margin to handle the things that you don't expect. Nobody expects a water heater to break. Nobody expects the repairs that have to happen, roof to leak, taxes to go up, insurance to go up, HOA fees if they're to go up, but they're going to. And so I just think truth is super important up front. And then you don't regret how you helped somebody because they call you a year later going, what happened? Like you said, I thought we had a fixed mortgage, and all of a sudden I got a letter from my servicer that my escrow is upside down. I need to give them $900, which I don't have. So that's so critical.
Yeah.
I completely agree. A lot of markets, one of the other factors around affordability is really driven by inventory and the lack thereof. In some cases, there's markets that are loosening up, but in a lot of cases, the places where folks want to be, right, the inventory is still really, really tight. And y'all know that whole supply demand curve. And so, if the demand is there, prices are going to stay high and affordability is still going to be a challenge. And so I'm curious, obviously, Kristen, you have a show called Mortgages with Millennials that's talked about this in the past too, but Matt, kind of bigger, broader, what are you seeing across your markets? Are there solutions for inventory that are kind of creative that you're impressed with? And then Kristen, we'll jump over to you and hear maybe some of the things that you guys have talked about there.
I was going to start talking, but then you threw the qualifier in there that said I'm impressed with. And I'll tell you what,
Okay, maybe just options.
yeah, there are all kinds of creative financing options. There are all kind of creative ways to get into properties. There's construction loans, there's bond loans, there's all these things, and there's a lot of new builds going on. And those are oftentimes pretty decent investments for young people and if not even young first-time home buyers. It all comes down to choice. You mentioned hot markets. Most hot markets are hot for a reason. The prices have already started going up, if not gone up. And so I think the wisdom is in trying to find a market that's not quite yet so hot, because unfortunately, a lot of people we run into, they just want to live where they want to live, and it's not affordable to them right now. But if they drive 20 minutes further or 30 minutes further, while it's an inconvenience, they can actually put themselves in a far better financial position both now and into the future, because those markets are also going to appreciate. They just might not be the darling of the city just yet. And there's a lot of that going on all over the country, where there are these outlying areas that 5 years ago you would have scratched your head thinking, why would anybody live there? Which now are the hot market. And I think that comes down to having really good education, really good experts around you. A great real estate agent is going to guide you to the right place to buy a house. And a great real estate agent and mortgage origination team are going to really coach you into making sure you find yourself in a position you're happy with, even though you might have to make some compromises, whether that be the amount of home you buy, other things in your budget that you're wasting money on that you shouldn't, or the distance you drive.
Yeah, I think, I mean, some of the things that we've talked about on mortgages with millennials has been, co-buying has come up in a couple different episodes, where, you know, where the market is really hot, where it is just totally not affordable to that first-time home buyer. Going in with someone else or a group of people can be a way to achieve homeownership and at least start chipping away at that until you can then move out and, you know, continue to move up. And house hacking is what people are calling it. And I think that's that is something that we need to talk about more as an industry in order to, I mean, 38 is like that's crazy how far that has jumped in just a few years. It's, and so we can't, and so those are some of the strategies. Also in California and some other places, there's, you know, the ability to build ADUs, which has been helpful, and some of the zoning law, you know, changes, I think, for commercial use to turn to residential property. I think those are going to be really helpful, and we can, of course, advocate for that kind of thing. But you know, if we're trying to just, how are we educating, then I think looking at some of this co-buying and house hacking type of opportunities.
Christian, I love the co-buying house hacking opportunity. My one word advice to anybody who ever talks to me about that is to have a written agreement. You want to actually have kind of a prenup in advance. Nobody enters into a business relationship or a purchase of a home together or a marriage together expecting it not to work out. But a lot of times it doesn't, and relationships have a tendency to fall apart. So having a well-defined breakup agreement in the event that it's needed, and how you're going to distribute that asset and liability across the members of that contract is really, really important. I wouldn't enter into any co-buying engagement without it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's some companies, some startups that are focused in that area, like Nestment, that are helping people structure those contracts and making that a little bit easier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Great points. We asked one of our members that is working with their local realtor association, their local home builders association too. And so they're all getting together, like the mortgage lenders, the builders, and the realtors are all getting together with their local municipalities to try to drive change. You know, that process is not easy, but a lot of the challenges that come from new inventory creation are really founded at the local can't even talk today, municipality level, right? So the city may say, like in their case, what they found is that the city said no, any new construction had to have at least an acre lot. Well, it might not be feasible for somebody to build on an acre. And so they've really taken a different approach. Same thing with some of the, like Kristen, you were saying, the switch in like zoning ordinances between like residential or commercial and vice versa, opening up some of those previously zoned commercial properties into residential opportunities, I think can go a long ways too. So it's interesting to see some of these things starting to come up, but all of it is great news because it means there's lots of folks trying to create solutions for a challenge that's in front of our industry. So excited about that. And I know I did have another topic for us, but we're not going to make it to be able to go through it all in time. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I just wanted to say happy holidays to everybody. We are not going to do a fix next week, but so before the year ends, I just wanted to tell everybody how grateful and thankful I am for each of you joining us every week, and Kristen, for you and Matt joining this week. And we will see you again next year, everybody, which is a little bit crazy to think of. But happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you again January 3rd. All right.
Thank you, Melissa.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.